Hello, Simmers. We're back with the SSHL, and this one we have the January recap. So I'm going to go over the human control teams here based off of their human GM team power rankings. So we start out with Drew and the Utah Mammoth, currently 31, 18, and 8. You have Clayton Keller leading the way in scoring with 62 points, and then Schmaltz with 59, and Gunther with 49. That's their top three. And then in goal, you have a .907 save percentage for Vejmelka in 40 games played, and then Ingram in 20 games played with a .917. Everything just working pretty well in general for Utah as a whole, as they've consistently been the best human control team throughout this season. And then you have Treehouse Mountain and the Vegas Golden Knights, currently 27, 20, and 11. Eichel sitting with 58 points leads their team. Then you have Barbashev with 54, and then Hurdle with 52 rounds out their top three. And then in goal, you have an .892 save percentage for Aiden Hill in 46 games played, and Korpisalo in 14 games played with an .897. So once again, Vegas struggling with goaltending. We are past the trade deadline now. That will not be the case next season. At this time next season, I will have the trade deadline set for March 1st for next season, but this season it was January 3rd. So there's not much that Vegas can do about the goaltending at this point in the season. That being said, though, it does seem like they're still on track to make the playoffs, as we'll check the standings after we're done going through each of the individual teams. As in third, we have Skyler and the Buffalo Sabres, who are currently 25, 24, and 8. Peterka currently leads the way in scoring with 46 points in 57 games played. Then you have Zucker with 39 and Thompson with 36. Rounding out the top three for Buffalo. And in goal, you have a .907 save percentage for Luukkonen in 57 games played. So Luukkonen not getting any rest over there in Buffalo, as Reimer has 13 minutes played total. But unfortunately for Buffalo, they did suffer a major injury. Rasmus Dahlin goes down for likely the rest of the season, as he's still injured for the next 2 to 3 months on January 16th. So big loss for Buffalo, losing their best defenseman. And then currently sitting in fourth, you have M1 and the New York Rangers, who are currently 24, 25, and 6. Panarin leads the way in scoring with 46 points. Then you have Kreider with 45 and Miller with 42. And then in goal, you have an .899 save percentage for Shesterkin in 44 games played. And for Jonathan Quick in 12 games played, he has a .920. So Quick been much better whenever he's been in compared to Shesterkin. Once again, should be very interesting to see what the Rangers do with Shesterkin this upcoming offseason with his contract expiring. And then currently sitting in fifth in the Human GM team power rankings, we have the 24, 28, and 7 St. Louis Blues run by PQ. Currently leading the way in scoring is Kyrou with 41 points in 59 games played. Then you have Buchnevich with 33, and then Parayko with 30. So scoring here in St. Louis hasn't been too great, it looks like. As we take a look at the goaltending, you have Binnington in 44 games played with a .908 save percentage and 3 shutouts. And then you have Hoffer in 19 games played with a .901. So Binnington been doing pretty well, but unfortunately it seems his team has not been able to produce too many goals in order to back up those numbers, which has St. Louis sitting outside the playoffs. And sitting in sixth on the Human GM team power rankings, you have the Anaheim Ducks run by LeGreen, who are 21, 28, and 4. Currently leading the way in scoring for them is Zegras with 41 points, and then Terry and Killorn with 34. That rounds out their top three. And then in goal, you have an .896 save percentage for both Dostal and Husso. So I think overall, this kind of record was to be expected from Anaheim, just given their, the state of their team. So we'll have to see what they do over the offseason, as it looks like they are going to be in the running for the first overall pick. And currently sitting in seventh on the Human GM team power rankings are the Pittsburgh Penguins, run by Damon, who are 21, 31, and 3. Crosby currently leading the way in scoring, no surprise there, with 38 points and 55 games played. Malkin with 33, and then you have Raquel with 31. Rounds out the top three. And then in goal, you have Nedeljkovic in 22 games played with a .901 save percentage. Blomqvist in 21 games played with an .895. And then Jari in 16 games played with an .875. So goaltending for Pittsburgh has been rather shaky all season, but it looks like Nedeljkovic has been doing well to make it respectable. And then currently sitting in eighth in the Human GM team power rankings are the 18, 34, and 3 Calgary Flames, run by Phil. Leading the way in scoring for them is Nazem Kadri with 34 points in 55 games played. Then you have Coronado with 31 and Farabee with 24. Rounds out their top three. And then in goal, you have an .898 save percentage for Wolf in 54 games played. And then Vladar in 8 games played has a .912. So overall, Calgary looks like they will be certainly a favorite for the first overall pick. So now that is out of the way, we'll take a look at the standings. So once again, I believe the only human control teams that are currently in the playoffs are Vegas and Utah. As in the East, you have Buffalo, the Rangers, and Pittsburgh. None of them are in the playoffs. And in the West, you have Vegas and Utah, obviously both in divisional spots. But then you also have St. Louis, Anaheim, and Calgary, who are below the playoff line. So yes, indeed, we only have 2 human control teams currently in the playoffs. It should be interesting to see if they can both hold those spots. And then something else that happened during January was the All-Star Game, which happened simultaneously alongside 6 other regular season games, so I'm not sure how that works, but it was between the Western and Eastern Conference. And keep in mind, with the way that the All-Star Game is set up, at least for this year, we have it so that not every team is necessarily guaranteed to be represented here. So in the first period for the West, you have 3 consecutive goals from Connor, Rantanen, and Sergachev to get the scoring started. But then the East answers back with 3 of their own from Kucherov, Aho, and Reinhart. And we are tied at 3 heading into the second period, where you have Reinhart getting things going for the Eastern Conference to put them up 4-3. But then you have Kaprizov with 2 to make it 5-4. And then you have Sanheim equaling it up at 5 apiece. But then it's 4 unanswered goals for the Western Conference as Connor, Heiskanen, McDavid, and Natchez all score to make it 9-5 heading into the third period, where it's Bouchard to make it 10-5 for the Western Conference. But then it's 5 straight Eastern Conference goals to make it a 10-10 game from McAvoy, Kucherov, Caulfield, Aho, and Ekblad. But then it's none other than Connor McDavid to break the tie with less than a minute remaining in the third period to make it an 11-10 Western Conference victory. Shots were 60-73, 3 stars of the game. Kaprizov with 7 points, Aho with 3 points, and McDavid with 5 points. And with that, I think that'll just about do it for the January recap. So we'll end things off here, but not before I thank the channel members. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.